Silence and darkness replaced the bright underground tunnel lights in just the space of time from one breath to another. The darkness was so thick that it seemed like we could reach out and touch it. The darkness held me, wrapped itself around me and cushioned me as I was thrown to the ground. The darkness shielded me, protected my eyes from seeing, only gradually allowing me to adjust. We didn't know that a young man deliberately detonated a bomb. We didn't know that he boarded the same train carriage intent on actioning his idea. We didn't know that the basis of his idea was part of a larger set of ideas that in fact formed a belief, an ideology that was destructive and divisive. We didn't know we were his enemy, a part of an opposing group, dehumanized into the them. In the darkness, we were not them or us. We were no longer strangers. We were people. We were lifelines. We were a hand to hold. We were human beings. I was going to share my story, but then I was overwhelmed by the fact that this isn't a story. This is reality. This is my reality. This is raw and challenging and bloody tough. It may be reasonable to presume that I'm filled with absolute hatred and bitterness and may even want revenge or retribution. But I'm not. I believe that I've been spared these emotions because I received and felt the most immense and unconditional love from every single person who worked tirelessly to save my life. It hit me when I was first able to read the identity bracelet that I was given when I was admitted to hospital. And it chillingly read, "One unknown estimated female." One unknown estimated female. I looked at those words and what those 4 words said to me. Firstly, was that people, rescuers, were prepared to put their own lives at risk to come and save mine, to come and save as many unknowns as they could. Then those 4 words told me that difference didn't make a difference to my rescue. It didn't matter what the colour of my skin was, if I had a faith or no faith at all, if I was rich or poor, if I was male or female. Nothing mattered other than I was a precious human life. In many ways, I like to think of myself and see myself as living proof of who we really are, of the brilliance of humanity. When it's all stripped back, when there is nothing but your spirit, your instinct, and your thoughts, it's amazing what we can achieve. In facing death, I've learnt a lot about myself, and I've learnt a hell of a lot about life. And it's from this position that I really want to share today. I learnt 3 of the most transformational insights that I've adopted into how I create my second life, my new normal. And those 3 are the power of choice, the absolute necessity for purpose, and what we do to create our legacy. It was an hour before rescue could reach us in that carriage. An hour to sit and to contemplate and to think about, had I done enough in my life? Had I seen enough? Had I been enough? And in that hour, there's never been a way that I can truly share what happened for me. But all I can say is that I was presented with opposing voices. I call them the voice of life and the voice of death. The voice of death was beautiful. It was female, and it was the most beautiful voice I've ever heard. And it urged me to look at my injuries, and it said to me, "Jill, you don't want to live like this. Come with me. Come." As I thought about how beautiful it would be to go to this other place with this beautiful voice, the voice of life entered my field, and it was male, and it was angry, and it said, "How dare you? How dare you think even for a moment about not being here when there is so much for you to do?" Look, if I'm honest, I was quite intimidated by the voice of life that I absolutely chose to live. But in doing so, I knew that I was signing a new contract. I couldn't read the small print, but I absolutely knew that my life would be devoted to something other than what I was doing. What choice has shown me and taught me is that absolutely, whilst I may not be able to control or change any of life's events, what I can do is I can own my own choices. I get to own how things change in my life purely down to how I choose to react and respond to every single given situation. That has changed my life completely. Purpose. Purpose for me is all about doing, and we've heard a lot about the importance of doing in this incredible conference. I used to work in design and architecture, so of course there is no such thing as an idea without an end product. And when I, leapt into the world of peace building and countering violent extremism, of course I was the one person that said, we can't have great ideas unless we have an action, unless we make them happen. The things I've had to ask myself over and over again before I embark on any initiative or any project is, am I angry enough? Am I passionate enough? And am I frustrated enough to want to make a difference? to want to make a commitment to creating the idea. And that is a continuous set of questions that I have to ask myself. I also see my purpose as someone who builds bridges where there are walls. I may have a lot of work to do soon. And about bringing people together. The importance of people being face-to-face, united, to talk out any of their perceived differences. For me, though, it is about the action. And I've looked at how could we combine. I set up a not-for-profit, which is Mad Minds, and how can we bring thinkers together with doers to create some extraordinary projects. There's one that we did which was called Walk Talk, where I actually physically walked 500 kilometres from Leeds down to London and covered 22 towns and cities to physically bring people together. And my ask of them was, if I'm prepared to do the most difficult thing for me, which is to walk, then please come and walk and talk with another, and by the end of a mile, I guarantee that you'll wonder what was dividing you in the first place. Extraordinary. The other is, I've then realised actually it took a month on the road and 6 months to recover. So I thought, I'm never going to do physical projects again. Bad idea, that we don't want actioned. So what can I do instead? And we created what we believe is the world's first app to bring peace builders together. So that was born out of people feeling so frustrated of, where is all the good in the world? Where is all the good? So we decided we would bring it all together in one device. Also, I think that you need to bring people with you to create your team, to make something happen. I can't do anything on my own. I certainly wasn't able to walk on my own. That took a team of people. And what was extraordinary for me was that the idea of walking, the very idea, was planted. I'd never met an amputee. I didn't know what was possible. And my beautiful consultant sat there, if you can imagine, terribly English consultant saying, yes, absolutely, you'll walk out of here. I don't want to tell him that I don't have any legs, but, you know. And so the journey began. And I think I pushed it perhaps a little bit too far when I did say to the consultant, actually, and I held his hands and looked him straight in the eyes, and I said, actually, I thought we could find some positives from this situation. And he looked at me as if to say, well, what positives can we find? And this was all born out of, he asked me to put my arms out in an arm span. I had no idea why, and he told me that we are the height of our arms. So as he was measuring me, I thought, okay, how much can I stretch? Because I only used to be 5 foot in my previous life. So I thought, look, there is no blagging the consultant. Of course, I need to come clean. So I held his hands and looked at him and just said, darling, I thought I could be a lot taller. So I'm very, very proud to report that after 3.5 months after the bombings, I did walk out of hospital, and I walked out at an Amazonian 5'8". Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And our legacy, what we do. Look, I've become completely obsessed by leaving a footprint. And that really came to light for me when I first came back to Australia. I was in the UK for 26 years. And I first came back to Australia. And I got off the plane and I realised that never again will I stand on the soil of my country. And then it started to roll on for me, that never again would I paddle at the water's edge or feel the grass beneath my feet. So then I had to quickly change that thinking. And I then started to examine, what else can a footprint be? Maybe it's an impression that's greater than what we leave on the ground. Maybe it's what we give to each other, what we do with our lives that actually counts. So that's what I started to endeavour to do. And then I thought about the people that left an impression on me. And of course, one came to mind very clearly, and that's the lead person that taught me how to walk. His name was Matt. And Matt was a little bit unconventional, some may say, because, look, I can't feel the ground. This is terrifying. And I was frightened that I would fall over. So Matt addressed that by literally coming up behind me and pushing me over. Now, after the 100th time, he said to me, "Jill, you're not frightened of falling over anymore, are you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Have you noticed? I've taught you how to get back up by yourself." Here lies a wonderful metaphor for my second life, as given to me via Matt. And that is, having the confidence to fall means that I have the ability to get back up. And I've always used that again in my second life. I think also, if I had to summarize the total whole experience, it would be in this quote, and that is, that someone, somewhere, is feeling the effects of something you have said or done. And what an incredible responsibility that is on each of us to be conscious of the effect we leave with someone else. I think it's really important to remember also, in the context of a growing tech world, that actually what's inside us, what we do or what we don't do, actually matters. And as I've discovered, and what I truly believe, is that we are actually wonderfully wired for wonder. It's all waiting. It's all there, waiting until we need to draw upon it. Thank you.